Look at him, eating whatever he wants, never gaining a pound. While I'm stuck with the boring special and can't lose an ounce.
How's your lunch, man?
Amazing. Yours?
So good.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Cool, buddy.
Weight loss isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that can fix your frustration with food.
So, same time next week?
No!
Definitely.
And your friends. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
I don't want the family at home to be held hostage by this. I don't want the school to be held hostage by this. And more importantly, I don't want little Jenna to be held hostage by this. So there has to be some teaching going on. This family should really be learning about how to talk to the worry, how not to put the worry/OCD in charge, which means that it has messages, it has demands, and we're going to work very hard to decrease the adherence to the demands.
Welcome to Season 8 of Flusterclux with Lynn Lyons, where we talk about managing worry, anxiety, and all the other emotions too.
I'm Lynn Lyons. I'm an anxiety expert, author, speaker, and mom. I've been a therapist for 35 years, and I'm still in the trenches with families, helping them navigate daily struggles and big problems. Parenting can be a flusterclux, but we tackle the serious stuff without being too serious.
I'm Robin. I'm Lynn's sister-in-law and co-host, and I'm here to ask your questions.
And I'm Ed, the producer of Flusterclux.
And my brother.
And my husband.
Anxiety is a family problem with a family solution. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Lynn.
How are you?
Very good. Excited that summer is peeking around the corner.
It's beautiful here, actually.
May's almost over, but May is Mental Health Month. And I don't know, you always say this is kind of a month that families might go off the rails.
Yeah, I always give my yearly warning. I haven't done my yearly May Instagram reel, but at the end of the school year, a lot is happening and people are tired out from the school year and there's a lot of different events happening. And then I think the thing that really tips my families over the edge is that there's a lot of talk about ending the school year and what's happening next, but it's all very abstract in the future. And so all these kids that are like, we're going to have move up day, or you're moving to middle school, or you're leaving the teacher that you loved in second grade. And now you're going to get a third grade teacher, but we don't know who it is. Like all of that just makes all these worriers worry.
You know what else I think it is too? It's not just the worriers, because as you're saying that, so I wouldn't say that school years ending typically had an issue for me, but you know what was like the hardest thing for me? And I know a lot of moms can relate to this. When you have a senior going off to college and you don't quite know yet where they're going and you can't plan until you know where they're going. That inability to have the control of the information to plan and to have to sit tight and wait, brutal.
But they know by now, don't they?
Yeah, families know by now, but between January and let's say May 1st.
Oh, yeah.
My first kid who went through the process had good options to choose from. I wasn't concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
I found it intolerable that I didn't know her schedule and how it impacted our family's schedule. So that's probably a little controlly of me.
Mm-hmm. And I think also there's a ton of uncertainty. I also just think, you bring up the college graduation thing. I think for parents, the end of the school year there's a lot of symbolism to moving from one stage to another, right? So if you've got a child who's moving to middle school, or you've got a high schooler, or you've got a kid who's graduating from high school, those are big, big events. Those are big deals. Yeah.
They are. We recently replayed our episode about that because I definitely had a very emotional transition that I really unpacked and had been really thoughtful about. But I survived it. Families, I was very sad and grieving the closure of one chapter of my kids all living together on one roof. And I'm 2 years in now. I survived it. It's lovely. I was with my family this weekend. It's still great. So you'll get through it too.
Yes. And also, every child is different. And so when my first one went off, oh my gosh, like I remember saying this, like any hint of anything that had a whiff of goodbye, I was just a mess. And then when my second one left, I thought like, well, I've got this figured out. But then that was my last one. And so I was also a mess. So it's just the way it is. Yeah. And now I've got one getting married Instagram algorithm totally knows that I'm the mother of the groom. So I get all of this stuff all the time about like the dance with your son and all that kind of stuff. So life just keeps throwing stuff at you.
That's right. Never goes away.
Never goes away.
So we have a listener question about 504s because now is the season. Families could be thinking about this, submitting these things for next year.
Yes. So what often happens is that if you've got a child who's been on a 504 or you're trying to plan for next year, there are a lot of meetings at the end of the year where they're looking at 504s and IEPs, also individual education plans. This question sort of summed up a lot of what I think are the challenges that school counselors and special educators and parents all bump up against when you're trying to come up with a plan for your child.
Well, this question that was sent to us was actually sent from either a therapist or somebody at the school.
I believe it's somebody at the school.
Okay. So we have this listener question written by someone at the school who's writing a 504 for a little first grader.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Lynn, I'm wondering if you can give me some ideas for 504 accommodations for a student with anxiety. I know you say the issue doesn't matter, so I'm confused on how to provide an accommodation without doing the disorder, as you say. She gets worried about not being able to use the restroom. And during assemblies, she sits next to her teacher, so she is available to ask if she needs to go. In other classes like PE, she's allowed to go before or after the class. She's especially concerned during fire drills and lockdown drills. But as my principal said, during a real emergency, we probably won't be able to accommodate her because of the safety issue. She is in first grade and just recently got diagnosed with generalized anxiety. Her mother suspects it could also be OCD. They don't go out much at home because of this either. Thanks for your help.
Okay. When we're looking at a 504, we are trying to put things in place, not services. This is the tricky part about a 504 because the accommodation language is always tricky for me because, as I've said a gazillion times, the thing that I'm going after is accommodations. And this is a thing that gets put in place that's called an accommodation plan. So you can imagine that those two things often don't mesh. So let's forget about the word accommodation for a moment and talk about how this school person can put together a plan for a first grader that is worried. She's worrying that she has to go to the bathroom. This is not an unusual problem. Very often kids get concerned that they're going to have to go pee or that they're going to have an accident. And as we all know, the more you think about having to go pee, the more you can get the sensation of having to pee. They worry that they really need to go pee and then they want to go pee. It becomes a very vicious cycle. I was actually just talking to somebody, an adult, who was telling me that when she was little, she had this problem at night when she was in bed, and she would get up and in and out of bed 8 to 10 times at night to pee before she could finally go to sleep. So it's not an unusual problem at all. The thing I want to talk about first is that this person says, I know you say the issue doesn't matter, so I'm confused on how to provide an accommodation without doing the disorder. Let me just clarify that. The issue is the issue. So when we're putting a plan in place, we're dealing with the issue. When I say the issue doesn't matter, what I'm saying is that the goal is not to try and figure out the issue, to talk about what the content is, to see what it means. The goal is not to create a plan that offers a rearranging of the world in order to accommodate the topic. But if we are dealing with an issue that has to do with the bathroom, then when we're making a plan, it's going to include talk about bathrooms. If we're dealing with a kid who's afraid of dogs, we're going to need some dogs. If we're dealing with kids that's afraid of water, we're going to need some water. So we don't completely ignore or not talk about the issue, but the goal is always a little bit bigger because I want to help this child develop the ability to recognize that her worry is making her body feel this way. So if we just put an accommodation in place, so if we say, because this little first grader is nervous about going to the bathroom, we're going to make sure that whenever she has to go to the bathroom, she has access to the bathroom. That's doing the disorder because there's no teaching there. There's no skill building there. There's no helping her understand that it is her anxiety, right? We're going to pull out that worry part and give it a name. There's no understanding there on her part that it is her worry that is creating these thoughts and these feelings and this sensation that she has to pee. It is always a step 1, step 2 problem for me. Step 1, you have a thought, a feeling, a sensation. Step 2, how do we help you address them? So if we're doing the disorder, step 1, you have a thought, a feeling, a sensation that you have to go to the bathroom. Step 2, let's make sure that we treat that sensation, that thought and feeling as if it's an emergency that needs to be attended to right away. That's doing the disorder. Here's the alternative. Step 1, you have a thought, a feeling, a sensation. You have to pee. You feel like you have to pee. You're worried that you have to pee. Step 2, how do we help this little girl understand that her worry shows up and what's the response that we're going to help her develop to her worry so that she isn't going to the bathroom 20 times a day?
Let's take a break, but when we come back, I think to really nail down the content versus process point, why don't you give us a few more examples when we come back about step 1s and step 2s for other types of worries and issues that someone could be writing a 504 about?
Okay. I've been trying a lot of face products lately. I'll admit it. I'm at a certain age. I want my skin to look good. And I've done damage. So there's action that needs to be taken. I started using Osea's products. I love them. There is this one product that is just amazing. It is their Undaria algae body oil. And I've used body oil before, but there is something about this oil. It feels great. It smells great. After I take a shower, I just put it on my arms and my legs, my neck. The scent is amazing. It feels so smooth and hydrating on my skin. 100% of people who used it showed a significant improvement in moisturization and skin elasticity. 100% of users agreed that their skin looked firmer and less crepey, and I would put myself in that 100%. My skin feels softer, smoother, more supple. I love it. So get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now we have a special discount just for our listeners. You get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FLUSTER at OseaMalibu.com. Woohoo, it's almost summer. This means that you're going to be planning activities with your family. You're going to be going on vacation. You're going to be spending money doing this and that. All the things you want to do to make your summer fun, which is why I love Monarch, because it pays attention to the money that's coming in and the money that's coming out so that I don't have to worry that I won't be able to do something fun because I haven't been paying attention to my finances. Monarch is the personal finance app that tracks everything: accounts, investments, savings, goals, and spending. Get your first year of Monarch Core for half off, just $50 with promo code FLUSTER. With Monarch, I can see what my cash flow looks like. I can see, is there a large percentage of my income going to something that is useful, or am I wasting money? Are there things that I'm spending money on that I'm not really paying attention to? And what it does is it just takes the mental load off my tracking finances. I don't have to think about it. I know that I've got a system in place that's going to make my money work for me. And you can ask Monarch's AI assistant anything about your finances, like how much did I spend on travel last summer? Or can I afford this vacation without touching my savings? It spots things that you wouldn't think to look for with AI insights. You can even get a heads up on what's happening with your money with the AI Weekly Recap. It flags spending spikes, net worth shifts, and upcoming expenses. Use code FLUSTER at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FLUSTER. When it comes to getting dressed, I really just like to make it simple and easy. I don't want to think about it that much. I want to look great, but I want to trust that what I have in my closet, I can just easily pull out. I can pack and go. I can get dressed. I just don't like a lot of fuss. Quince is really helping me out. with this because I have ordered several of their spring linen tops. I got a short sleeve shirt. I got a tank that looks amazing. I also got a great Mongolian cashmere t-shirt, which is great for these transition months in New Hampshire. It's not very hot yet, but I want to look springy. Quince makes it so easy for me to just look refreshed and put together this spring. The 100% European linen is fabulous. I love the way it fits. I love how easy it is for me to get dressed in the morning. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I love their t-shirts. I always order a few new t-shirts at the change of every season. So I've got 2 that I just received. They fit perfectly. The fabric is great. They hold up in the wash. They're comfortable, they're stylish, and they're priced so reasonably that I don't even think twice about getting the things I need to make my wardrobe easier and better. So refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/fluster for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/fluster for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/fluster. Okay, we're back.
So, Lynn, you just gave us like the step 1 and the step 2 for this little girl who worries all the time that she needs to pee.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about kids who are very frequently worried about fire drills or vomiting. Like there's a lot of them. So
Germs, loud noises, making a mistake. I mean, the list goes on.
right. So when you say it's not really about the content, it's about the process, all of those things are content, the worry content.
Right.
So how can the school and the parents be thoughtful about understanding a process to support and not indulging in the content?
Right. Remember, the content is going to show up and the content is going to be included because we need the content to talk about the process. So writing a 504 plan for this little girl, what you may say is, and again, let's forget about the word accommodation for a moment and let's talk about the word skill, or let's talk about the word teaching. What I want somebody to teach this little girl is you have a worry part named Sally. Sally shows up and makes its announcement. Sally says, now the can be whatever. So let's take some different content. There might be a monster. It's going to thunder today. You might have touched something that's germy and you're going to get sick. Your mommy might forget to pick you up after school. All of that is content. But what the worry does is it makes an announcement and turns it into an emergency. And then what very often an accommodation plan does is try and remove the emergency by helping the child avoid. So you're worried about fire drills, we'll let you know when there's going to be a fire drill. You're worried about dogs, so the therapy dog that walks around the school, we're going to make sure you never go near that dog. You're worried about germs, so we're going to make sure that you always have some hand sanitizer in your classroom. All of those are accommodations that are designed to reduce the worry by supporting avoidance and elimination.
But they're doing exactly what anxiety wants.
Correct. Because whenever we try and reduce or avoid the trigger, so to speak, then we are making the problem worse. So for this little girl, the way you want to write a plan is how and who is going to help her learn how to manage her worry when it pops up. Like, let's just call this little girl Jenna. Jenna worries that she is going to have an accident, or Jenna worries that she has to go to the bathroom all the time. So we are going to work with Jenna to be able to, now listen carefully, we are going to work with Jenna not to help her identify her feelings, everybody. I see plans all the time that are like, Jenna is going to work on identifying her feelings. That's the easy part. She knows she's worried. Jenna is going to learn that when her worry pops up and tells her she has to go to the bathroom, she is going to wait a period of time before she goes to the bathroom. Or we say, Jenna is going to work on letting somebody know that she has to go to the bathroom. And there are going to be certain times during the day, or you can even say Jenna is going to go to the bathroom 4 times during the day, because a first grader going to the bathroom 4 times a day is probably more than enough. What we're not going to put into a plan is Jenna has the ability to go to the bathroom whenever she wants to, or Jenna is going to be given a seat near the door so she can go to the bathroom whenever she needs to. Teachers will help Jenna go to the bathroom before gym and after gym. All of these things are saying we're going to turn to the anxiety and say, what will help Jenna feel better? And if we are doing that in the absence of skill building, we are making the problem worse. So the reason that this counselor or this special educator is stuck on this is that she is trying to come up with an accommodation that allows little Jenna to go to the bathroom when she wants to. But she's saying, like, we can't just do that, because if there's a real emergency, then she's not going to be able to go to the bathroom. And what's missing from this is who is teaching Jenna how to manage her worry when it shows up. This is the problem I have with accommodation plans, because even though they are nice and they sound good and they help people feel less worried, they are missing the teaching of the skill, which over and over and over again, regardless of the content, is that step 2. When the thought, the worry, the feeling, the sensation shows up, how are you going to respond to it? And Jenna, if she has generalized anxiety disorder and mom says maybe it's OCD, she gets stuck on this thought. It makes her feel uncomfortable and she wants to do something to feel better. If there is an accommodation plan that helps her do the thing that immediately makes her feel better, you are making the anxiety worse. This is a huge paradigm shift for schools, because accommodation plans for anxiety are generally the opposite of what I'm doing clinically. They are the opposite of what I'm doing clinically.
You mentioned that the word teaching and skills. You're big into skills. I think it's a great way to look at the accommodation plan. And if you can't summarize a skill that this child is meant to practice, you've probably written something that is only going to make it worse.
Correct. And the way to think about skills, the phrase that I use, because people get a little stuck in that, is the ability to. So we want to teach Jenna the ability to. And the 2 things I would have on that list is the ability to recognize and understand when that sensation of needing to pee shows up, that that's her worry. So we're going to help her make the connection between her worry and the sensation she feels in her body. And the ability to respond to her worry, hi, nice to see you, and then hang out for a little while so that she can move through that sensation. The problem is that inherent in the word accommodation and inherent in these plans that are written, the word accommodation means we're going to help you avoid the thing that makes you anxious. And what I am saying is the reason the person is struggling with this is because she is finding that it's really hard to do that. You can write a plan for a student that says Jenna will have the ability to go to the bathroom 4 times a day. Her teachers will talk to her about her worry, which she's going to name Sally, and that everybody together is going to work on helping Jenna go longer periods of time without visiting the bathroom. If somebody says, well, we can't do that, the teachers have to do so. Look, I'm saying these accommodation plans that I see over and over and over again that just help kids avoid are not clinically sound. So we got to be a little creative. We've got to step into what we know works, and we've got to let go of what doesn't work.
Well, the other thing is that if you have the school, if that special education teacher is listening to this episode and putting this into place for little Jenna for her first grade, with the goal trying to be, A, she's going to have to learn to be flexible to go to the bathroom at these 4 times.
Or she can pick the 4 times. I don't care. She can say she has 4 bathroom passes and she can use them when she wants to.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty good too. And then 2, help her to slowly identify that this is a worry response, to give her some language and tools to know that. If you just give her full access to a restroom at all times, you have a good expression for this too. That content could just move to the point where her worry is going to create a physical reaction of vomiting or fainting or something else. Like if she doesn't understand a somatic awareness, what anxiety does to her body, she's just going to get older with more entrenched with those anxious responses that are physical, that are just going to become more and more difficult to turn around.
Exactly. She's not going to understand the connection between her body and her mind. She's not going to understand how anxiety creates these physical symptoms because nobody's talked to her about that. And she doesn't really know how to make that connection yet because she's just a little first grade peanut. The one thing I would say, Robin, about what you said is that say we come up with a plan that she can go to the bathroom 4 times during the day. Before we institute that, there has to be some teaching and some understanding about why we're doing this and what the rationale is. Because if we just say, you can only go to the bathroom 4 times a day, Jenna, that's going to freak her out because she has no idea. It doesn't teach her anything. So we have to do the teaching first. When we put an accommodation in place, oftentimes, we want to start where the child is, of course. We don't want to be mean. And so we may say, Jenna is allowed to use the bathroom, when she needs to. And in particular, we're going to start off with making sure that she goes to the bathroom before PE. But the goal is to work toward Jenna only using the bathroom 4 times a day and being able to identify and talk to her worry when it shows up with the help of her teacher. If this is an OCD thing and the mom says she thinks that it might be an OCD thing, remember the family is not leaving the house very often because of this. We don't want to replicate what's going on at home in the school. I don't want the family at home to be held hostage by this. I don't want the school to be held hostage by this. And more importantly, I don't want little Jenna to be held hostage by this. So there has to be some teaching going on. And what I would say, too, is that this family should really be learning about how to talk to the worry, how not to put the worry/OCD in charge, which means that it has messages, it has demands, and we're going to work very hard to decrease the adherence to the demands, which means we're going to have her wait periods of time. We're going to help her understand how her body works. If she were in school and she really had to go to the bathroom, we don't want to be mean about this, but chances are she's not going to have an accident if we can help her begin to recognize the relationship between her worry and the sensation that she feels that she has to pee. Now, somebody's got to do that work with her, and it may not be possible for the school to do that work with her, but you can't write an accommodation plan. If she is in therapy, if the parents are in therapy, which at first grade, the parents better be in the therapy. If she is in therapy working on this generalized anxiety or OCD thing, then the school has to be working in conjunction with the therapy or in conjunction with the plan the parent comes up with. We can't have 2 different plans. And this is oftentimes what happens with these accommodation plans is that the therapist named Lynn Lyons is working with the family to decrease accommodation, and then a plan is put in place that supports accommodation. It has to be done together. The family is being held hostage by this. The school is trying to figure out how to not be held hostage by this. There has to be some treatment. There has to be some help. And the plan has to be consistent at home and at school.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
From athletic stuff like a full court pickup game, swish, to athletic-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athletic-ish, Sierra's got it.
Do you hear that? Sounds like breakfast is ready. Because Quaker's coming in hot with morning nutrition. 100% whole grain oats and a good source of fiber to fuel the rhythm of your morning and kickstart your day. And that sounds absolutely delicious. Fuel to start whatever's next. Quaker, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26.
Okay, so now back to the show.
Lynn, as you say this, some schools I can imagine are so entrenched in accommodating the anxiety that this would go kind of right over their heads. And it's great when the people at the school are really trying to turn things around. I feel like you've mentioned to me that that's like part of what you've been trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I do. I go, I go from school to school to school, talking about this, and other people are talking about this too. I've mentioned there's a program that a researcher named Golda Ginsburg is working on, and she is really working hard to shift the paradigm of this accommodation model because it's not appropriate for anxiety, even though accommodations are appropriate for so many other things. And I've talked about that. If you've got a kid with ADHD, if you've got a kid with a processing disorder, if you've got a kid with dyslexia, if you've got a kid with type 1 diabetes, we put accommodations in place because they need extra support in order to manage the school day. With anxiety, the very nature of the disorder is, I want extra support because I need certainty and comfort, and I'm not going to be able to do it unless everybody cooperates with me. That's what the anxiety disorder says.
Because so many kids seem to have an ADHD diagnosis these days, also a co-diagnosis with anxiety as well. Is that a way to like work around then and make a more accommodating 504 plan versus, is that when it gets tricky? Because it's like, are you accommodating or are you teaching? Even though, of course, you want to be teaching.
Yes. So that is tricky because there are certain things in terms of learning that we really want to make sure with ADHD that we're helping with. I've seen some really good plans, and usually they're IEPs because IEPs are a different type of document and they're actually a more helpful type of document. I have seen IEPs where you've got a kid with anxiety and ADHD, and they're doing things that we know with ADHD are really important, like they're helping that child with their executive functioning. They're helping that child break down big projects into manageable chunks. Maybe the child has a seat near the front of the classroom so the teacher can keep an eye on him or her and help keep them on task, or they have a signal, or the teacher goes around and just taps the child on the shoulder to get them to get back to work. So there are all sorts of things that we put in place for kids that have ADHD that are really, really important and really helpful with the way that their brain works. The problem with a lot of these plans that I see is that the accommodations that are put in place, particularly for anxiety and also for ADHD, are really pretty standard. They're not very individualized. They're not very thoughtful. They're not very creative. And you've got these accommodations put in place that really don't have anything to do with what the kid is working on.
Or should be working on.
Or should be working on, right. So for example, we might see for this little kid as generalized anxiety disorder. So we might see an accommodation where it says the child has the ability to go to the school nurse whenever she wants. Okay, well, that sounds nice, but what happens when she gets to the school nurse? Or the child is allowed to come into the classroom later in the day. We might see that. I see that a lot of the time. Or the child is allowed to skip PE class or is allowed to sit out of PE class. Okay, so all of those things might sound nice and they might reduce some of the anxiety, but they're not addressing the skill that we're trying to build. With anxiety in general and ADHD too, I see extra time all the time. Child gets extra time on tests. If you've got a kid with OCD and you give them extra time, It's not really relevant to a child with OCD that they get extra time blanketly for things. So it really is important to be creative. And again, the content is not the issue, but these accommodations are going to address the content that she wants to go to the bathroom all the time. The content is not what we're trying to address. We are trying to address the skill that she needs in order to manage her worry when it shows up. And that's the tricky part of it. But you're going to mention the word bathroom. You're going to mention the word pee, just like if they're afraid of dogs, we're going to mention the word dogs. So I would think about writing a plan that's really focused on what do we want this little first grader to have the ability to do? How are we going to put some things in place that get her there so she can go to the bathroom 4 times? And who's going to do the teaching of the skill? It may not be the school, but the school, the counselor should definitely be aware of what the plan is, aware of what the teaching is, and that needs to be incorporated into this girl's school day for sure. Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast helpful, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find this information.
And if you'd like to dig deeper on any of these topics, we have specialized playlists on our Spotify profile, and the link is in the show notes. Topics like teens, depression, and OCD. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Robin.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.